What's up everyone, welcome to a new home for FPL content. My name is Steve. The Premier League fixtures have been released, so in this video we're going to be looking into the opening weekend fixtures. We're going to look at which players we should be targeting, what players we can look at for captaincy, and then we're also going to take a deep dive into the opening 5 fixtures for each Premier League team and which team we should be targeting and which teams we should be avoiding. So let's get into the video. So getting into the fixtures, Liverpool v Bournemouth starts us off on the Friday. Then the early kickoff on the Saturday is Villa Newcastle. We then have 4 3 o'clock kickoffs with Forest v Brentford, Brighton v Fulham, Sunderland v West Ham and Spurs v Burnley. The late kickoffs then Wolves v Man City. Sunday consists of Chelsea v Crystal Palace and a tasty Man United v Arsenal clash. And then Monday we have Leeds v Everton. Now initially I think there's good 3 or 4 fixtures that stand out. I think we have to naturally be looking at Liverpool, the fact that they're at home. Bournemouth's not the ideal fixture, but I think there's a lot of potential there, certainly for a player like Salah. After that, we're looking at Tottenham v Burnley, a newly promoted team. Tottenham being at home, new manager bounce, we'll have to see. Then Sunderland, West Ham, and again a newly promoted team against an established Premier League team. I think that's another fixture we can be looking at. On top of that, also, I think Wolves v Man City. All of these games have good captaincy options in them. I think Salah at home is obviously always a natural choice. He has an incredible opening day record, and there's no reason why he can't continue that. I think it'd be raring to go for the new season. The only question point with Salah is what his new price will be. If you're going to see him rise to 14.5, even 15 million, people might start to think, is he really worth it in our team? When you compare him to Haaland last season, I think it was fair to say it was better to spread the money around, certainly after the first 5-6 game weeks. So for me, you still can't go without Salah. So he'll be in our teams, and he certainly will be one of the main captaincy options. Going on to the Tottenham game I just mentioned, I think Solanke could be a real good option. They're, like I say, home to a newly promoted team. The new manager bounce there. I think pre-season, you see how they line up, see who they bring in. They can only improve, surely. So he's really got to be considered. Then next we have Jarrod Bowen. I think he ended this season really hot last season. I think he's going to be a really nice option, especially away at a newly promoted side in Sunderland. I think a lot of people will be considering him as captain. And then if we decide to go with him next year, Erling Haaland. I think Wolves could be a team to target come the new season. Their manager, he's done really well, Vitor Pereira. But I just wonder if losing Aït-Nouri and also Cunha might just have a negative effect on them. But also, would you ever bet against Haaland? I think after a relatively disappointing season last season, especially due to injury, I think he'll be out to prove a point. But are we going to be able to afford him in our teams if you've got the likes of Salah? And then you've got to think of all these price rises that could be on the horizon. Consider Isak, for example. I think he got to about 9 million, wasn't he? 9.3. He could be well over 10 this year. It's going to be really difficult to get a lot of these players in this season. But all price dependent. Let's move on to the next part. So looking at some of these teams' opening 5 fixtures, we'll start with Arsenal. We'll go in alphabetical order. Arsenal have got a difficult start, very difficult start. Leeds in game week 2 is going to be a very good option, I think, for captaincy if you've got somebody like Saka. But you look all around that, you've got Manchester United away. That's going to be, it's always a difficult game for Arsenal. You've also got Liverpool away, always a difficult game for Arsenal. And then you've also got Nottingham Forest, but also Man City after that as well. So it's a really difficult start. Moving on to Aston Villa. I quite like their start, actually. Once you get past Newcastle at home, which they can easily do very well against, I think they're one of the top teams that we should be looking at, the likes of Morgan Rogers. and Ollie Watkins, for example, there. Bournemouth, it's once you pass the opening day with Liverpool, I think you've got a nice little run there. But who are we going to target? We'll have to see who they manage to keep a hold of, I think. There's still a lot of information to come through the summer transfer window pre-season. But Kluivert and Semenyo could be options again. After that, you've got Brentford. I think it's a tough start. It's a tough start. They've got a nice away fixture at Sunderland there. But either side of it, it's so-so. But you've also got to take into the fact they've lost their manager, who've done really well there. Brian and Burma is likely going. Is Johan Visser going? And after that, especially if them two both leave, who do you buy from Brentford? They might be a team to avoid looking from an early standpoint. And then after that, you've got Brighton, who have got it's an okay start when you look either side of Manchester City. It's just the same old problem I always find with Brighton is their rotation. They have such heavy rotation in that attack. You can never guarantee who's going to start. So, you can keep them on the radar, but I'm not a huge fan of their start. Moving on to Burnley, just avoid. If they can carry their defensive form that they had in the Championship into the Premier League, maybe you can consider them, but they'll only be a third choice bench option, really, the £4 million defenders. Otherwise, just avoid. Chelsea have a very decent start, in my opinion. One question I would have with Chelsea is which striker they're going to start with. Nicholas Jackson was a semi-option for periods last year, but if they can get Delap firing, I think he could be a heck of an option. It's just going to be rotation with Europe and also the Premier League. Two decent striker options. It will be difficult, but all in all, defence, attack, with those fixtures, Crystal Palace at home, West Ham away, Fulham at home, Brentford away, Man United away, not ideal, but still. I think you're going to be looking at Palmer, maybe even a Cucurella, and thinking they can be really good options. Crystal Palace, the fixtures aren't ideal, but Eze, Munoz are always options. I think they've always got to be considered. They're more than capable of returning in Chelsea away, Villa away, or even Nottingham Forest at home. And then you've also after that you've got a nice Sunderland home fixture, so certainly can be considering those. Fulham, I quite like their start. I think they're certainly a better option from game week 4 when you've got Leeds and Brentford at home. But again, the strikers of rotations risks. A few of their midfielders can be as well. When you think of last season, we started with Emile Smith-Rowe. He slowly worked his way out of the team. Let's see how they go pre-season. After that, we've got Everton, who've got quite a good opening run, to be honest. I think they'll be really solid at home again. But who do you pick from Everton? That's my worry. You've got Njai, but otherwise nobody's really chipping in with that many goals for Everton, apart from Beto, obviously. Again, just have to see who they bring in and then go from there. Moving on to Leeds, I think they'll really be up for that opening day fixture at home to Everton. There'll be a good option then, but I think they'll struggle thereafter. And again, these newly promoted teams don't always offer the most fruitful FPL players. It sort of have to be reactionary, I think, when we get into the season with a team like Leeds. Moving on to Liverpool, the champions. It's not an easy start, is it? Bournemouth's okay, like we were saying, Salah, captaincy option. But then Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, that's nasty. Burnley away is okay, but then you've got a Merseyside derby. And then also you think of the players they're bringing in, Wirtz, Kerkez potentially, Frimpong. who's going to be starting in these positions? There could be heavy rotation risks now. You know, is it going to be Frimpong? Is it going to be Connor Bradley? Is it going to be Kirkes? Is it going to be Robertson? Is Robertson leaving? Or you've also got Simicast there. And then also with Wirtz, what position is he going to be playing? Probably the attacking midfield. So that would mean a Dominic Szoboszlai dropping out. A lot of questions with Liverpool, which we'd need answering. But it's Liverpool at the end of the day. There are always going to be options. If we move on to Man City, it's a pretty good start for them. I do like their start, especially the opening four just before they get to Arsenal away. Once again, rotation risks at City. Pep roulette, as they say. Aït-Nouri probably would seem like a good option if he would come in at the left back, the move Gvardiol to the centre back. But you know that's probably not going to happen. There's going to be so much rotation risk. He'll play Gvardiol there at left back at times. You can go with Ruben Diaz and Akanji at centre back. I think the only nailed on players you're looking at are sort of Haaland. You know, Marmoush had a lovely little option as well, but is he rotation risk? The new sign is Cherky. Rotation risk again. Foden could be back into the mix. Rotation risk. But there'll be enough of us that want to get Man City players, and I think we're right to do so. Just got to be wary of who we pick. Obviously the heavy rotation. Manchester United, the most difficult start, I would say. Early doors, I'd just say to avoid. Again, get some pre-season info. If Cunha can take his Wolves form to Manchester United, I think he'd be a nice little option. But otherwise, it's such a difficult start. Arsenal, Man City and Chelsea all in the opening five. We've got one nice fixture at home to Burnley, but either side of that looks very difficult. Newcastle's a very interesting one. I'm hearing people thinking it's a difficult start. And Villa away, Liverpool at home, it isn't ideal, but I don't mind their opening five fixtures. I think there'll be a solid option in defence and attack. It's, you know, you've got Isak, he can easily score away at Aston Villa, and I think they'll be right up for that first home game at St James's against Liverpool. Then after that, you've got some nice fixtures in Leeds away, Wolves at home, and Bournemouth away. So I think it's a lot easier start than some people I've heard are given credit for. So I think it's a team to target, definitely. And then Nottingham Forest, who have got a really nice start, in my opinion. They won't have to juggle Europe until well into September, maybe game week 5-6. So, you know, you've got a nice clean run without Europe there. So I think it'd be nice to target some Nottingham Forest, certainly defenders, if they can carry on that form from last season. It did dip off towards the end, but they were a solid defence all season. So if you can look at them, if you can maybe look at a Morgan Gibbs-White, etc., etc., I think there'll be a nice option just before that Arsenal game away. That's not ideal, but as you're seeing, nobody's got the ideal run to start the season. So, yeah, all good there, I'd say. Sunderland, then, the best of the promoted teams, I think, their run. I don't mind their fixtures at all, but again, we're probably considering them as third bench options, £4 million defenders. You know, that's all we're really looking at on the early days of Sunderland, unless they prove when they get into the season that they mean business. Tottenham, nice fixtures, I think, apart from Manchester City away. Going back to that new manager bounce, I think that could be a real possibility after their European triumph as well. Maybe they can kick on from it. Let's see how they get on in pre-season. Like I've said with a lot of teams, maybe get some early indicators to how they're performing. West Ham, great opening day fixture. After that, I'm not too sure. I think, like I said before, Bowen's always going to be an option. If you can get, West Ham player like Wan-Bissaka pretty cheap as well, that would be pretty good. 4.5 million, something around there. I think he showed his attacking threat more than he did at Manchester United, with a few assists in last season's campaign, actually. So that was pretty impressive. If you can get Wan-Bissaka performing like that again, he could be a nice option, certainly to rotate around your defenders. Then finally, Wolves. Losing players, like I mentioned before, with Aït-Nouri and Cunha, I think they'll struggle. I don't think they're a team we want to be looking too much at. Strand Larson, if he's cheap enough, potentially, but with a start like Manchester City and then Bournemouth away, Everton at home, Newcastle away, Leeds, there's some nice fixtures in there, but I think we'll have to do some proper working out of who's going to be the leading performers in that team for next season. So thank you for watching to the end. Please consider dropping a like, and please consider subscribing and joining the grand FPL family. We'll have another video coming next week, which will likely be a price prediction video, so it should be a bit of fun. And until then, I'll see you next time.